60 for 15 years. Yeah, 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 it's okay. So we prepare only the boardroom presentations and immediately the timelines. So say cost is 300 crores and then, okay, for 300 crores, this is the rate of return that is expected. And then at this particular rate of return, the project will be completed. The project will be completed. You're very knowledgeable. Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for giving us this excellent presentation. Next, I would like to call upon our next speaker, Mr. Nicholas Colombo, CEO Selerant, to give a presentation on leveraging on PLM technology to design environmental sustainable products. Niccolo Colombo, CEO of Selerant Asia, is based in Shanghai to help China's food industries implement appropriate technologies for food safety and compliance. I would request him to give the presentation.
Good morning, everyone. So we switch from electricity to sustainability, let's say. So today I want to give you an overview of, it's more also not just the technology, but give you a little bit of industry background and why manufacturing industry is going toward sustainability and what does it mean, how it's impacting the business processes. And I also want to share with you a case today about one of our partners, Nestlé, which is a large food manufacturer. What does it mean for a large enterprise adopting a sustainability culture and how they have to leverage on IT technologies to develop greener products and please consumers toward that. So Selerant, we are an IT company. We deliver technology and services to help process manufacturing, not just food companies, to increase their innovation pace and improve their compliances processes. Within our product lifecycle management platform, we are now considering also the lifecycle assessment. That's what is called the environmental measurement of products. So product lifecycle management span from enterprise project management, product portfolio management, supplier collaboration, recipe and compositional design, packaging, labeling, and then all the compliance part throughout the quality assurance and manufacturing scale up. So eco-design, it's one integrated pillar because throughout the entire innovation process, if you want to design sustainable products, you have to consider these environmental burdens end to end from the early stage of design of your products. So a little bit of business background. So it is clear that in the most developed countries there is an issue with sustainability because this map actually shows in the darker color where the environmental impact is higher, where we have more problem on water, we have more problem on waste, we have more problems on land usage, we have problems with global warmings. So the most developed countries, they have to start taking actions against that because the population is growing and therefore if we want to achieve a sustainable growth, there are some specific measures and actions that large enterprises especially, they are responsible for. Then I want to switch from just a general ecological footprint to a more specific case about food. I wanted to take a specific case of food because I will talk about Nestlé later. It is clear that actually in the world, just to share a couple of numbers, we are more than 6 billion people. Consider that 50% of that, they have issues with nutrition because 1.5 billion of people in the world, they have problem with obesity, and 1.5 billion people in the world, they have problem with food scarcity. So 50% of the global population have problems with foods, which means that whether because we waste or whether because there are too less. So it's also a cultural problem, and it is something that there was a very interesting study done that in fact the more the more you go toward a rich in protein diet, which is the main cause of obesity, the more environmental impact you have. So it's nice that this double pyramid says that the more healthier diet you have, the less environmental impact you have. So it also starts from us. The better we feed ourselves, the better we treat our planet. So it's not just about the responsibility of the manufacturers, but it's also our own responsibility to be sustainable. So taking again the case of food or consumer product goods, why now the industry has to move towards sustainability? There are many factors. Of course, the ethical business, but there are growing consumer concern toward sustainable products. So manufacturing companies are going toward this direction because consumers demand. The second part is also that because of the cause I shown before, the government and the legislations are moving towards sustainability. So there are many now organizations. There are actually in some Western countries, like in Europe, we start to have tax around, we start putting tax on products which are, based on the waste that are generated based on the packaging waste there are. So industry is forced to deliver and design products which are more sustainable if you want to compete. And then there's definitely, from the retailers, there's a big push. I mean, there's like companies like Walmart, they start to define requirements to consumer goods products in terms of sustainability factors. So they define kind of scorecards. So it becomes part of the design process. No matter what it is, toward the next 10 years, it's going to become a mandatory factor. I mean, if you don't consider sustainability and environmental impact within your products, you cannot really be on the market anymore. But what does it mean measuring the environmental impact for a product? It means, first of all, it means there is a science which is called life cycle assessment science, and that's the most now adopted science to measure environmental impact. And it means considering the entire life cycle of the product from cradle to grave. I mean, in the case of food, it's called from farm to fork. So it means, in the case of food, it means considering from the agricultural process throughout, from the agricultural to processing, to transportation, retail and distribution, to the usage, how consumers use the product, and then how the disposition, how you recycle. So if you want to measure the environmental impact of your product and therefore also your company, you need to consider the entire life cycle. Why? Because if you don't do so, you may be caught in some kind of misleading result. There was a study very interesting where they compare, the Hummer SUV, huge like a 10-cylinder engine, and the very ecological Toyota Prius. So about these two, guess which is the most ecological car? Probably most of you would think that the Toyota Prius, which is hybrid, is the most greener car. Well, the study conducted by scientists shown that actually the Hummer is more ecological. Doesn't look like very good, right? Well, that's true because it was a misleading result because they didn't consider the entire life cycle of the product, but they just compare actually two factors. Yes, they use the mileage by the fuel consumption, but they also considered the amount of energy they use to develop the technology of the hybrid. While the Hummer is a simple, iron-made car, the other one contains a lot of technology. So the total environmental impact of the Hummer was slightly lower, and actually what they have done, the other error is that Hummer made something like 5,000 units. The hybrid Prius already sold 5 million. So if you spread the energy used to develop and engineer an hybrid solution over 5 million units, then of course it's going to be reduced. If you spread it over 5,000 units, it's not. So the way we measure the environmental impact is important. So there is a need in the industry to create guidelines, standards, and methodologies which are recognizable so that you can define benchmark and you can measure and compare. Otherwise, you're going to get with these results. So standardization is, and governments and institutions, that's where they are going. And that's why I'm taking you toward the case. One of our customers, which is actually a top player in the consumer goods space, mainly a food industry, they have decided. I mean, they have now a very, they have a very strict commitment on the environmental sustainability policies. And definitely they decided to, because their impact on the agricultural and water usage and so on, it's high, so they defined this internal policy, which is toward the next 10 years to adopt procedure and guidelines to reduce and to start measuring every single product that they sell to consumers, so to become more sustainable. Not just toward environment, but also toward, because sustainability is not just about environment, but it's also about ethical and social sustainability. So what they have done, basically, we have developed with them a solution, an IT solution, an application which is called eco-design, which allows them, instead of measuring, they were doing some measurement of the products they have in the market, doing a traditional assessment, so they were measuring the impact of energy, the water used for the given product, but that was not a proper approach because it was just measuring something already exists. So with eco-design, with this application, they now measure the environmental impact, and they can also simulate the environmental impact of all the products they design. So basically, in this way, they have a lower cost for change because they can start considering sustainability at an earlier phase, so they can take decision whether to use one manufacturing process, whether to use this plant which use coal energy or using the other one which use nuclear energy, and reducing the cost for change and also reducing the impact on the environment. So that's the way they find out. And that's a program started a couple of years ago. It's already started giving result in many of their products around, more in the Western country than, of course, than maybe in the East. They started to tell these results to consumers. So you can start see on the label of their products, this new version has 20% less water usage than the other one. There is less CO2 than the other one. So they start leveraging on the data that our system generates also to do marketing. So it's becoming a competitive advantage, not just something that it's forced and it's because of the policy. So the result starts to be there. Of course, it has taken some time because it's the entire supply chain that is impacted, because it means that all the suppliers has to work toward this. They have to provide data so that they can be managed toward that. So that's the result of this type of application. And so how is it very, very quickly, because I'm running now out of time, maybe just show you this very last slide. So what does it mean designing products with reduced impact? It basically reducing certain environmental indicators such as our carbon footprint, energy usage, water usage, this type of impact. But is it feasible? Is it feasible to design product only considering the environmental impact? It is not. I mean, because unless you work for an NGO where you don't look at the profit, you cannot just work and define that you need just to work for the design for the environment. You need to design for sustainability, which is a different thing. Design for sustainability means considering all the sustainability pillars. It means, for sure, integrating the environmental impact, but it also means integrating social aspects, which in the case of a consumer good company, or let's say in the case of a food product, means quality, means providing quality products, means providing safe product, means providing health product, means providing the proper nutritional value, giving something good, which is good for eating. And then, of course, economical. I mean, we need to generate profitability, durability, and all the economic factors that the company needs to do. So integrating these three aspects, it means considering a lot of variables during the design of the product, its evolution, and its entire life cycle. So that's the challenge of the industry for the coming years. I've explored the food industry, but that's where everyone's all the major enterprise are now considering and taking this type of approach toward eco-design, because it's becoming not just part of or requirement or boundaries given by the legal requirements, but it's something that becomes more a general demand also for consumers in any type of industry now. That's like also in electronics, there are also some now certification for greener energy or things like that. So that's the new model of innovation, where there's an increased number of variables that has to be considered during product development. So this type of applications, so that help you integrating the environmental constraint toward all the other constraints, which are social and economical, it speed up and gives you can give you significant benefits in terms of time to market, because as we've seen in the previous concept, adopting an eco-design approach allows you to make informed decision and at an earlier stage of product development, when the cost for change it's lower. So that's what I wanted to show you today. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good morning to all of you. As CMD BHL could not join the session due to some unavoidable circumstances, he has authorized Executive Director from Electronic Division Bangalore, Mr. K.C. Ramurthy, to read out his speech. So I invite Mr. K.C. Ramurthy, Executive Director, Electronic Division, to read out CMD speech.
A very good morning to the delegates, industry representatives from the automation, speakers from the automation industry who are here for this ARC India's 10th forum to deliberate on transforming industry and infrastructure through new processes and technologies. Our Chairman and Managing Director, Shri B. Prasad Rao, should have been here to address this gathering on making India a global manufacturing center of excellence and innovation hub. But because of his official compulsions, it has not been possible for him to be here, and he has requested me to read out his address to the August gathering here. So based on his request, I carry out the task that has been assigned to me. I go through it. It's a matter of great privilege and honor for me to be invited to address this prestigious ARC India's forum. I am grateful to the forum organizers for offering me the opportunity to deliver this lecture to such a distinguished forum. After the crisis of 2008, global economy has failed to emerge out of the recessionary effect, and the fresh crisis to Eurozone is exerting unprecedented pressure on global economy. India, whose engagement with the global economy deepened since 1990s, has also felt the tremors. The global financial crisis has adversely impacted exports, resource mobilization, and has exerted intense pressure on pricing. These, together with a host of domestic factors, have brought the economic growth back to 6.5% level in 2011-12. I firmly believe that this is a temporary phase and economy will revive soon. GDP should recover partially and record a growth of around 7% in 2012-13. Industrial growth is expected to accelerate to 6.3% in 2012-13 compared to 3.4% in 2011-12. Parallelly, industry is expecting Government of India to take policy initiatives in near term to bring the economy on growth track. Considering the current phase of economy as an aberration, Indian manufacturing is slowly but surely sweeping back in the national economic space. India is witnessing a wave of growth in manufacturing after its decline in the late 90s. This new manufacturing opportunity is slated to be more skills intensive, and the industry leaders foresee India as well poised to take advantage of this shift. India's manufacturing growth rate has typically tracked GDP growth averaging 7% per annum over the past 15 years. If we assume that India's GDP will grow at 7 to 8% on an average over the next decade, the manufacturing growth has to be 3 to 4% higher than that of GDP. That too to reach a share of around 25% of share of GDP by 2025. This means that the manufacturing sector has to grow at 11 to 12% per annum for the next 15 years. A stretch target, but by no means an impossible one, given that the sector has witnessed 11% growth in some years during the last decade. This steady growth at the rate of 11% will also propel India into a league of select nations and place it as the third largest manufacturing sector in the world behind China and the United States. Over and above, there are graver reasons that necessitate country's success in manufacturing. Manufacturing has linkages with all other sectors of economy. The progress of manufacturing has tremendous cascading effects at the core of India's socio-economic fabric. In spite of the boom in the services sector, 75% of India's working population is educated only to middle school or below. This staggering figure of approximately 600 million people is not even equipped to benefit from the opportunities in the flourishing knowledge sector. It is only the labor-intensive manufacturing sector that has capability to generate employment in adequate numbers to absorb the large pool of labor. Manufacturing has large stakes involved, not just because the sector employs 30% of the non-agricultural workforce in India, but also because of its contribution to the overall economy. Even though the agriculture supports 58% of the working population, it contributes only 18% to country's GDP. This mismatch between the distribution of workforce and value added in agriculture is one of the main reasons for the large number of poor in the country. Against this background, only a sharp increase in the Indian manufacturing sector workforce will increase the overall income levels of the country, which in turn will ensure inclusive and sustainable growth. So let's take stock of India's manufacturing sector as it is poised today. The country is increasingly getting recognized for high-value goods requiring fair amount of engineering, precision, and quality. Today, for most of us, low-cost manufacturing has been the cornerstone of our strategy. However, the market dynamics are changing, which call for different responses from us in terms of what is needed to achieve growth in terms of volume, delivery, and world-class quality. To develop long-term stronger capabilities, companies seem to be overemphasizing on becoming low-cost manufacturers. Is it enough to become low-cost producer? No. I firmly believe we need to dramatically improve our efficiency of operations. Prospects of harnessing opportunities in today's marketplace hinges on various deliverables, like our ability to optimize supply chain, our capability to offer maximum advantage vis-a-vis other emerging competitors, initiatives to lead critical areas of innovation, skill building of vast pool of human resources, and most importantly, our cost competitiveness. Innovation is a critical driver that enables manufacturing companies to attain greater competitiveness and allows them to grow at an accelerated pace. As all of you know, BHEL is a market leader in power plant equipment manufacturing in India. It faced the dramatic market change when the Chinese sets with ratings of 300 megawatt and 600 megawatts were introduced in the Indian market at lower costs. It was a 10x change in Andrew Grove's terminology. BHEL's own product offering was limited to 250 megawatt and 500 megawatt sizes. It was an innovation-led breakthrough and thinking that enabled BHL to develop alternate sizes of 270 megawatt, 525 megawatt, and 600 megawatt sizes and reclaim the rightful market. Today, many of the private sector customers who had veered towards Chinese have come back to BHL. In modern competitive analysis framework, competition and cooperation coexist. Firms should consider their suppliers and customers as their business partners. And this framework presages new forms of opportunities for growth. BHL is fortunate to have a few customers who have considered us to be their business partners. We are in the process of introducing environmental friendly and more efficient supercritical technology in a few thermal power plants through joint venture route. This will enable us to absorb technology at a faster pace and on the other side, better returns on their investments. It is therefore important to understand capability development in supply chain has become competitive in global marketplace. Indian manufacturers face a daunting array of opportunities in transition from being solely low-cost manufacturing center to competing on the basis of innovation. Innovation links first to application of concepts and creation of value from an idea or concept. In the global market economy, the ability of companies to create, absorb, and commercialize innovations determines their competitiveness. As natural resources are getting scarce, we need to enhance our R&D spend so that we are not left behind in future technologies. Industry is facing constraints in availability of critical raw materials like CRGO steel, cold rolled non-grain oriented steel, P91 piping materials, boiler quality plates, and alloy steels, etc. With demand in the country going up during the 12th and 13th plant periods, there is a necessity to manufacture these within the country in order to mitigate over-dependence on overseas resources. India as a country needs to develop indigenous capabilities to manufacture such critical materials which will enhance competitiveness of Indian manufacturers. Nearly all the growth in energy demand and in the emissions come from non-OECD countries who have traditionally assumed access to new technologies as a result of technology transfer or from industrial countries. Access to technology is becoming difficult. Considering this, the role of the government in developing effective technology policy becomes more crucial. Policy establishes a solid foundation and framework on which other stakeholders, including industry, can build upon. It is only through technology, learning from research, development, demonstration, and deployment, cost-effective technologies can be fostered indigenously. The Union government has decided to encourage more investment for R&D in sectors like nanotechnology, new materials, energy, and climate change. Currently, India spends 1% of GDP on R&D activity. In the 99th annual session of Indian Science Congress, Prime Minister has emphasized on increasing the R&D spending to 2% of GDP by the end of the 12th plan. Government has also declared the period 2010-20 as a decade of innovation. Placing strong emphasis on innovation and creative development of the new technologies, BHL has been investing in R&D efforts aimed not only at improving the performance and efficiency of the existing products, but also on using the state-of-art technologies and processes to develop new products. BHL's R&D expenditure is around 2.2 to 2.4% of its turnover in the last few years. Skill deficit is another important area which requires our focus. Development of trained and skilled human resources is an essential prerequisite for rapid development of all areas of the manufacturing sector. As the sector is poised for massive growth, the industry should take steps to build training facilities which are commensurate with their requirements. Additionally, we need to move one step ahead to stretch productivity of people through accountability and incentives. Manufacturing industries have seen several revolutions over the last few decades. The 1960s and 70s saw a surge of Japanese manufacturing with focus on Toyota production systems, which was based on waste reduction techniques such as Kaizen and JIT. The 1980s saw Motorola introducing Six Sigma and redefining the focus on total quality management. In the 1990s, the focus shifted to mass customization, flexible automation, and strategic manufacturing. Many of these concepts were clubbed together in the concept of lean manufacturing that has driven unprecedented growth in manufacturing productivity in the recent times. Indian companies have also made major strides in implementing these practices to enhance their productivity and competitiveness. Nevertheless, there is a substantial distance to cover. While India's real manufacturing labor productivity has increased by 65%, around 65%, from 1998 to 2006, This growth looks small as compared to that of China, where it has increased by 180% in the same period of time. India's real manufacturing labor productivity lags China both in absolute terms and in the rate of growth over the last decade. As a result, while labor wage rates in India are significantly lower than that of China, productivity adjusted wage rates equate the two countries. India needs to make substantial efforts to close this productivity gap to remain competitive on a global level. Principles of productivity improvement will therefore remain important, and Indian industry will need to continue to enhance its capability on these dimensions. India has already established itself as a global hub for software and software solutions, automotive industry components, gems, jewelry, and even to some extent has established competency in IT hardware also to be a global hub. While most industry verticals are expanding, the major industries which have more focus